morning. I'm Ho Boon Tiong, and I'm a consultant educationist with ClassPoint Consulting, a firm which I founded some 20 years ago. I've been in education for about 40 years now, and my last appointment was as a deputy head of an academic group at the National Institute of Education.
Good morning, I'm Charles Chiu. I'm currently the principal consultant of Marshall Cavendish Education. I've been in education for also about 40 years. My last highest destination before I retire from the Ministry of Education Singapore was the principal master teacher physics in the Academy of Singapore Teachers, doing a teacher training or in-service teacher. So, Boon Tiong, could you describe your first day as a teacher in training?
Well, that was a memorable experience I had. I'll never forget it. Because I arrived at the school much earlier than anybody else. Not even the janitor or the principal. So I was literally outside the gate waiting to get into the school.
Wow. Let's see, that was your real first day,
Yes.
So 5 words for you to describe your first day as a teacher when you reported to the school. What are 5 words to describe?
I would say that I'm super excited. Yeah. That's the reason why I went so early, before the main gate was open. Not just excited, but passionate about teaching. It was like a dream came true for me, because all along I've wanted to be a teacher. And so I would say excited, passionate, also full of energy, just roaring to go, and just wanting to contribute to education. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe 2 other words I could think of is I'm very committed and very diligent.
Thanks for sharing that. I think there's only 1 word to describe your first impression of me.
Well, Charles, when I first met you, I was told that you were a scholar who came from MOE. And 1 word I would say, the first word I would say of you is you are really very competent. I could really see that in you as we work along. But along the way, I've realized that you're more than just competent. I think you were also very compassionate. And I experienced that many times when we had personal sharings together, conversations, and you literally extend helping hand, so I think you were not just competent, but you were compassionate, and I would also now say that you are very conscientious. In a lot of the things that you do, you put in not just effort, but you are very detailed in your planning.
Thank you for your kind encouragement.
Charles, I would like to maybe now ask you, could you describe our first conversation?
This first conversation, let me try and recall. I think it dates back almost 25 years, year 2000, when I first was seconded to NIE as a teaching fellow in physics. I remember you came by my office when I was quite lost in NIE, because the environment NIE is quite different from MOE. So you knock on my door and say hello to me. I thought it was a very nice gesture for you to introduce yourself. So I remember that conversation is something that sticks in my mind, because here am I as a first day in the NIE and you extend your hand of friendship. I thought that was very memorable.
It is the same for me too, and I've never regretted that first meeting, because from then on we really became good friends.
Yeah,
so thank you very much. Could you describe the moment when you realized I would be your good friend?
I think the moment came when I was in NIE, when I was actually already writing some books with Marshall Cavendish, and I invited you to also be part of the authors. And I realized that one of the areas that I would like to do is actually putting a conference paper. And the first conference paper was very exciting, because we tried to write something about how this physics package fulfill the curriculum reforms of our Singapore education system. That was in the year 2000 plus. And that was memorable because I had difficulty not able to, haven't written a conference paper before. And I thought you came across a very nice mentor, and we wrote together, and we also went all the way to Fremantle, Australia, right? And we presented this lovely conference, ARE. I think that was a time where our friendship blossomed. This is the time we actually went through together the conference. I remember saying that Boon Tiong, you should start the conference presentation because you have more experience, and I will just move along. I thought that was a very nice gesture of you to not just a good friend but also mentor to me. I is a teaching friend.
Well, I must thank you, Charles, for the invitation to join you as an author for the physics textbook. I think that, and I remembered that trip to Fremantle, where we lugged all the the textbook there, because we were doing a revision for the textbook, But we had certainly good time at the conference and working together.
Yeah, it's very memorable.
The other thing I'm interested in, Charles, have I ever ignited a competitive spirit in you?
I think rather than competitive spirit, I think it ignited in me the spirit of excellence, being better than what I can be. Because during NIE, I really see the importance of research informing my practice. Because I was a teacher leader, and then I realized teaching must inform my research. And that's why I remember I borrowed from you your doctoral thesis on pedagogical content knowledge, and I literally studied that thesis and say, wow, from your thesis I realized what aspects in my teaching have been well done is because it's informed by research. So I thought that is very nice. So going forward, I feel that it's not just about competitive spirit, but I look forward to collaborate with you, and together we'll compete with the best in the world, because that's the beauty of the work competition. We collaborate to compete to find the best of the world, so that we can bring the joy of learning physics even to the higher level, right, for the world.
Well, Charles, the feeling is mutual, and I always remember you say that together we are a very strong PCK team. Because I see between the two of us, we are very different, but yet we complement each other very well.
Yes,
you're very strong in your content knowledge, and I have my own contribution in my area of pedagogy, more specifically, as you said, PCK, pedagogical content knowledge. And I can see that you also work very well within institution. I'm a little bit more free-spirited, but that's where we join forces and we can, like you say, compete in the world.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think in terms of content knowledge, I really enjoy the world of physics. Having said that, while research says that what really matters in learning is content, but what really matters in teaching is the students, whether the student understand the content. So on that note, I think your PK is really first class, pedagogical knowledge, because you're able to see how to integrate, transform and represent the content knowledge in pieces and correct sequencing, so that learning happens with the students. And there's no point the teacher knowing you're learning, but the learning is not able to get to the students' understanding. So I thought in terms of sequencing of content, learning experiences, I think I really admire you in that aspect.
I do remember once you said that you described me as like a F1 Formula car on the racetrack. Once it hits the road, it gets rolling, it gets going. Yeah, but to sum up, I think our synergy, as I look at it, is really our complementarism, because we both complement each other very well.
Correct. Certainly, I think synergy is the word. That's why I thought the word collaborate, in terms of putting the best of what we have, synergizing it, so that we can even produce an outcome that can be even better than each one of us can ever do. Moving on, what is an unforgettable mistake you did as a teacher?
Now, Charles, I'm glad you asked me that question, because I remember vividly when I was teaching in the gifted education program, in one of the tests, I actually awarded some students with half marks. Wow. That was a fatal mistake, because the students came back to me and argued with me for 0.75, 0.8, So I announced to the whole class at the next test that I've decided to switch my marking system, from an analog to a digital system.
Yes, I agree with you. You know why? Because currently I was also teaching at NIE part-time on the assessment course. marking scheme is strictly 0 or 1 or 2. We don't practice half a mark. I thought that is also affirming your practice.
Thank you.
What was the most surprising thing that young teachers do now that seemed almost unheard of in the past?
If I could recall, I think along these years of education, there's been a greater emphasis on research in practice. And with that comes about action research. And I had the opportunity of participating in that and leading on to building of professional learning communities. So I think in the past, this was something quite unheard of, where research is more confined to those in the universities. You hardly hear of teachers being practitioner researchers. But today it's so common. And you and I have mentored many teachers in that area of research. And we have been privileged to see them participate in international conferences, sharing their ideas and presenting their papers.
Yes, I really like what you say, because professional learning community is the way to go, where teachers learn with and from each other, and through lesson studies, they work in terms of collaborative action research. Have you ever experienced the imposter syndrome?
The imposter syndrome, not quite, almost, but not quite. The reason being this, when I was out of NIE, I was actually headhunted by the Gifted Education branch, and they wanted to send me to Raffles Girls' School teaching English literature.
Wow.
Now, had that happened to me, I would certainly have felt the imposter syndrome, because I was never trained to teach literature. I was trained to teach physics and English language. So I told them, sorry, I can't. And they accepted that. And so they posted me somewhere else to another school where literally I stayed for 6 years. And after 6 years, it was then where Gifted Education branch called me again. And that's how I went into GEP program, teaching there.
Between the teacher, master trainer, author of various textbooks, which one of these roles will you never walk away with from?
Wow. That's quite a challenging question to think about. But I'm glad with you, Charles, I never walk alone.
That's true.
So I would say that is the role of a master trainer, a teacher educator. I really treasure that, and because the reason is there's a multiplying effect. The work that you and I did with teachers really helped them become teachers, educators themselves, and thereby perpetuating this teacher education process. So I think it makes a great impact. Being an author, I'm privileged to be an author with you, Charles, and but I realize it can be very tiring, it can be very tedious, and I'm not quite cut out for detail, although I can do it, but it's not my cup of tea, whereas you are more precise, you are more conscientious, so I think it's a great privilege to be involved in different roles. Certainly, a teacher has that impact in the classroom. But I think for me, as a master trainer, as a teacher educator, I see that the impact is much greater.
Very, very nice.
Okay, Charles, I know you were a beginning teacher at Victoria JC. Could you describe what are some key mistakes you felt you committed and how you overcome those mistakes?
When I was posted to Victoria Junior College in 1985 as a beginning teacher, I think the first mistake I made was assuming that I can teach very high level content. So when I went to my first lecture, and I asked my subject head, Mr. Wee, who was my mentor, to observe my lecture. So I was very excited, right? And I did a lot of demonstrations, I did a lot of teaching. And I thought it was a pretty reasonable lesson. But my eye contact with the students was not too good because it's my first lecture. So after the lesson, I asked my mentor, Mr. Wee, the subject head, what do you think of my lesson? They say, they learned nothing from you. It came as a shock to me, really. So I said, what? They learned nothing from me? What do you mean? No, you would like to elaborate. Then Mr. Wee said, you're just speaking above their heads. Nervous, my content was over-pitching. I was teaching university content, whereas I was able to bring it down, and basically it's back to the idea of pedagogical content knowledge. How do I integrate, represent and transform this content knowledge in the ways that students can understand? So it came as a shock. So I say, Mr. Wee, will you mind if I observe your lesson for the same topic for the second lecture? He was very nice. He said, yeah, sure. So he did the lesson. I was observing. I said, yeah, I think that's where I thought my sequencing of content, how to make it with more narratives, something that's more relatable to the students, it's actually a better approach. So I realized that it's a really interesting mistake I learned from, but it's what we always learn now. Mentoring is always, you do, I see, then I do, you see, and we do together, and we grow together. So I thought that was a very memorable mistake I made.
Well, I would agree with that in the sense that if we can't reach the student, we can't teach the students, right? Just curious, you mentioned Mr. Wee, is it Mr. Wee Peng Kun?
Yes, Mr. Wee Peng Kun. Do you know him?
Yeah, of course. He was my civics tutor when I was in JC. And later on, when I was in RI, he became my head of department. So I think we must give credit for where credit is due. So our gratitude to all our past mentors, Dr. Chia Teck Chi in NIE, who have also groomed us to be where we are today.
Yeah, certainly. I think we really are thankful to our seniors who have actually walked the journey before us, who imparted to us nuggets of wisdom.
Now, Charles, hearing you share about the mistake you made when you were teaching in JC, I certainly have my fair share of mistakes when I was teaching in schools. But one of the things I learned, and just like you did, is that the only mistake we make is when we don't learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we are both lifelong learners at heart.
Yeah.
So I'd like to find out from you, in your many roles that you have played in education, from a teacher to a head of department, to a vice principal, to a teacher educator, were there moments where you faced challenges and how you overcame them?
I recall after 10 years teaching in VJC, having seen 5 batches of students, I thought it's a time to actually really move on. And I became a HOD science in Diamond High. That was an eye-opener because having taught 10 years of the bigger boys and girls, I find that I have to relearn all over again because teaching the secondary one, they are really young, and I realized even teaching a secondary 4, the syllabus is actually lesser in terms of content because the 8 subjects. So that was the first adjustment I made. And as a HOD science, here at Department of Science, one of the memorable challenges that came on was when the Thinking School Learning Nation was launched. And there were 3 major initiatives on national education, thinking program, and use of ICT. I remember as a head of science, we tried to enact these changes, implement these changes, and there's a group of older teachers in my department who are very good in content but quite fearful ICT. So I think as a head of science, you have to actually sort of encourage them, educate their minds on why is it essential to infuse ICT in the lesson. So I thought that was the first challenge. And after 2 years, I became the vice principal, and I realized as a vice principal, you also have to model a shared vision for your school and how you actually have to move the teachers to see why the shared vision is so important, a compelling vision that excites them so that the buy-in is there. And again, that 3 years I remember was the Thinking School Learning Nation initiative. There was one instance where there was one older teacher, he said, VP, can I not learn ICT? I'll be retiring next year. So I said, no, it's not about retiring next year, it's about us working together, and if you have difficulty in using ICT, I'll be happy to work alongside to support you. And I realized that older teachers, the glory of the older one lies in their wisdom. So I say after working through with them, once you can win their hearts on the value ICT, they are even more progressive because they will even buy more gadgets and more computers and even make more ICT-based lessons come alive. So I thought that was a very nice, memorable challenge as a head of department, as a vice principal of the school to overcome. And going forward, I went on to NIE. I think that's where I met you. And I thought the teacher education is a very different ball game. And I enjoyed really growing the next generation of physics teachers for the nation, working alongside you. And after which, I went back to Academy of Singapore Teachers as a master teacher in physics. And I became a principal master teacher after 2 years. I think the biggest challenge as a principal master teacher is to become a reporting officer to 17 master teachers for various subjects, maths, physics, humanities, and also learner profile. So I thought it really widens my horizon on the beautiful aspect of subject disciplinarity as a reporting officer to these various subject-based master teachers. So I thought it's really a humbling journey as I walk the journey with them, encouraging them to become even better teacher leaders for the nation.
Yeah. I can't help but feel the same way, Charles, because looking back, I mean, we have been through so many years in education, playing so many different roles. Yeah, and I always believe that we should get out of our comfort zone, right? But always stay within our strength zone.
Yeah,
and I think we are so thankful that we have this privilege to play these different roles in our education journey.
Moving on, Boon Tiong, maybe you can share who is your favorite student or student that you will never forget.
Wow, that is quite difficult to answer because in so many years of teaching, we have come across many different students. I have come across many different students who I remembered then. One of my favorite students would be Aaron Maniam, who is actually in the GEP when I taught him in RI. And he impressed me because he's really like polymath. He's so well-versed in many disciplines. And I still remember, because when I set assignments for physics exercise, I gave them options. And one of which was actually to write a poem, and he wrote it so well that I gave him an A for it. Wow. So he impressed me because he was one who is very much into learning in many disciplines. I had many other students. The other one I remembered was one who is very humble, who also very keen to learn. And today, Kevin is a teacher himself. And I think that's one of our joys, to see how we can make an impact in our students' life and have them become teachers.
Yeah, I like your sharing about favorite students. If I don't mind, I share with you my favorite student.
Sure.
It was in VJC. I remember it was a practical exam, and she was a pretty nervous student. So it was during the practical exam, I recall it was a A-level exam, and then was a subject supervisor walking past. And then it was an experiment involving taking a ruler, taking a pencil and constructing a spring. So she was trying to construct a spring using a wire, and because the wiring was quite far away, the spring turned out to be quite weak. And she put the heaviest weight, and the string became straight again, so you could not oscillate. So she started to panic. So I said, no, don't panic. I'll give you another wire, then this time you construct again. Then she constructed. This time she was actually constructing very closely, but the tail end came out in the middle of the spring, and it cannot work as a spring. So I said, I think, let me do it for you. You just relax. So I did a spring for her and said, you continue the experiment. And I didn't know that this act of kindness propelled her to become a physics teacher.
Wow.
When I met her a few years down the road, I said, you have become a physics teacher. What makes you become a physics teacher? And she literally shared the experience I had, the exam, the practical exam. So I think it's very nice for you to share that your favorite student has become a teacher too, physics teacher. So what kept you going on through the decades?
For me, certainly, it's the passion for education. And I found my calling, I found my field. Because passion to me is the fuel for energy. It's the foundation for excellence, and it's the first step in everything. But Charles, having gone through all these years, as I reflect on our growth and all that, I realized there's something more important than passion, and that is compassion.
Wow.
Where we teach, as you did, not just a subject, but teach the students a subject. So I think that having that kind of heart for the students, the love for the students, I think that's even far greater.
Okay, what is one mistake you made but would not have done any other way?
A mistake I've made that I would not have done any other way. I remember when I was a beginning teacher, because I was teaching in the upper secondary level in the morning, and in the afternoon I joined my friend Michael for his physical education PE classes in the afternoon. So I remember one day the class 2F was there, but Michael wasn't around, and I actually was changed up in my PE attire because I would normally join them for runs and for games and all that. And I didn't want to waste any time, so I took over the class and I asked them, "What are you all doing today?" And they said, "Hurdling." And I said, "Wow, that's nice. I love hurdling." And it was quite simple with just plastic cones with low, plastic canes and all that. And so it was along the driveway, and I set up the cones, and I asked the students, "Okay, single file, and one by one you just jump across." And it was pretty low, it was pretty easy. But it came to this boy who was a bit on the plump side, and he took off his spectacles, and he ran, and he jumped. And when he jumped, he tripped and he fell. And the back of his head hit the road, the hard cement. And he went into concussion. Because I could still remember when I ran up to him, I could only see the white of the eye.
Wow.
I panicked, and in my panic, I cried, Michael. And we literally brought him to the sick bay, trying to ask him what is his name, and of course the ambulance came. I had to accompany him to the hospital. And after that, the police came. And after that, as you know, I had to write incident report and send it to my principal. But I must thank my principal, Mrs. Doreen Chan, who is a very motherly, experienced principal. Because I went in with my incident report with fear and trembling. But when I passed it on to her, she said to me, "Boon Tiong, it's okay. It would have been worse if no teacher was around." I thought that was very nice of her and very wise of her. If she had said, "Boon Tiong, you teach physics, not physical education," I think that would be the end of my career. But that was a mistake I remembered,
So I think this mistake is made in good faith, because students don't care how much we know physics until they know how much we care for their well-being. So having known each other for about 25 years, what do you think are the best traits of each other?
Charles, I see in you, as I've said earlier, I think you are competent, you are conscientious, and you are compassionate. I remembered, back in our NIE days, some mornings I would go into the office and share some personal struggles with you, and you would take the time to hear me, and you would even pray with me, for me, and I think those were very sweet moments that I treasure. I also see in you someone who is very humble, very open to learning. I mean, we have been the best of professionals together, we share with each other openly, we consult each other openly, and we learn from each other. So I see in you someone who is very open-minded, very humble, very willing to learn.
Thanks for your encouragement. Certainly we are also critical friends in terms of helping each other to grow even better. So the new year is coming. So what's a message for each other?
Before that, I'll be interested to hear from you what you see in me as some personal traits.
Okay, I think I really value you as a very close friend, because if you recall when I first went to NIE, I think you extended the hand of friendship. I thought that was very nice, and I think you are also very generous in sharing your knowledge, especially your doctoral thesis, whom I became a student, and I faithfully and conscientiously study every page of it. and it really inspired me to continue the journey, to find out what are the frontiers of PCK. And I thought that is very nice. I thought that you ignited me that the importance of continue to learn and also to find out what's the latest trends in terms of this area of PCK. So I thought that was a very valuable thing I learned from you. And I think another trait about you which I thought was very important is your spirit of helpfulness and in terms of compassion, able to identify with people's struggles and able to come alongside in a very encouraging way. And I think when it comes to that difficult moments when you face a crowd, especially I remember in our first conference paper, I said, I think you start because there are so many people there. So I thought it's very nice of you to be the trailblazer, and then I'll just come along and to learn from you. I thought that was very nice.
Yeah, thanks for the affirmation. Thanks, Charles.
As I said just now, a New Year is around the corner, a Chinese New Year, right? What is a message for each other for the New Year?
My wish for you, Charles, in 2025 would be that the Lord bless you with good health, bless you with wisdom, and may you be strong and courageous and go forth and fulfill what you've been called to do, to make an impact, do good deeds and make an impact in this world.
I think for me, the New Year message I wish you is also joy of the Lord be your strength, and also continue to be a blessing in terms of being a master trainer, being a master in terms of contributing your rich learning in terms of teacher education. And I thought you'll go forth and continue to work together to shape education for the nation, not just for Singapore but also for the world. Thank you for listening to us in our teaching point. We hope it is beneficial to you.